Today we're going to talk about a sutra called Bālapaṇḍita. So this is the 129th sutra in the Majjhima Nikaya. As you know, the meanings of these Pali terms, right? Bala and Pandita. I think we talked about this in a previous discussion. Can anybody remember what was the discussion? That we talked about Bala and or the fool. Actually, Bala means fool, the fool, and Pandita means the wise. So basically we discussed about identifying the fools and the wise in Buddhism. Can you remember the sutra that we discussed that? Maybe some of you might not have been there. It's called Sevitabba Sutra, right? So that was a sutra we talked about, Bala and Pandita. So Bala means a fool, Pandita means a wise person, right? So the fool and the wise. There are alternative words for these two, as you may know, Sappurisa, Asappurisa. Probably you might be used to those two words. Sappurisa is a good man, Asappurisa is a bad person, a good person, bad person, right? But in the text, what we find is Bala and Pandita most of the time. Looks like that these two words have a good emphasis in giving some teachings related to the spirituality and the mundane type of secular type of teachings. This is a long sutra. I would tell you the context of the sutra, but I am not going to talk about everything in the sutra. Now in the first paragraphs, what we can say is that how to identify a fool in Buddhism. Fool can be identified in many philosophies and religions and cultural different perspectives. And then Buddha talks about how a fool feels pain and grief here and now in three ways. Here and after, actually. Here and after. So then that attaches to the purgatory and hells, That's a different discussion in here. So usually now the wise understands a fool in these things, and then the wise understands what will happen to this fool after the death. And then there are a lot of things that Buddha talks about what will happen to them. So as the wise. So how a wise person understands another wise person. That is also discussed in the other half of this sutra in three ways. And then what happens to that wise person after the death. So this is what this whole sutra talks about. So let me read the Pali statements. Tīnimāni bhikkhave bālassa bāla lakkhanāni bāla nimittāni bāla padānāni. So what does Buddha say is that monks, because he was addressing monks, right? There are three characteristics or signs or attributes from which you understand a fool. Katamani tīni, what are they? What are the three? Ida bhikkhave bālu duccintita chinti dubbhasita bhasi dukkhata kammakari. So what is duccintita chinti? That means the person who talks, who thinks bad thoughts. Dubbhasita bhasi, the person who talks bad words. Dukkhata kammakari, the person who does bad actions. So they are the characteristics, signs and attributes of a fool. And then Buddha says, Nochetam bhikkhave bālu duccintita chintīca abhavissa dubbhasita bāsīca dukkhata kammakārīca Kenanam pandita janiyum balu ayang bhavang asappurisoti. I will read the English one, translation of Bhikkhu Bodhi. If a fool were not so, how would the wise know him thus? So wise needs a kind of a methodology or whatever the yardstick to know who this person is. Right? This person is a fool, an untrue man, but because a fool is one who thinks bad thoughts, speaks bad words, does bad deeds, the wise know him or her, thus this person is a fool, an untrue person. Untrue is another translation of, this Pandita. The Bala actually. Okay. Now, okay. Then the characteristics, signs and attributes of a fool are not, detailed in the sutra, because I think there are many other teachings where Buddha discusses these characteristics, signs or attributes of a fool. Let me ask you a question. So what are the bad thoughts a fool may have in thinking? Because we talked about this, that's why I can ask you a question about that. What are the general bad thoughts a person may have in life?
Anger?
No.
Jealousy?
I think you're going to keep telling the whole list of negativities that can happen to someone's mind. Abhijja and Vyapada. So I'm going to minimize the time. So Abhijja and Vyapada. Abhijja means?
Anger?
No, Abhijja actually, we talked about it. Abhijja means that, having strong desires to, take possession of others, belongings, right? The immediate thought that someone may have right before that person is going to steal such things, right? Without having a thought of snatching, taking what is not given, is this thought actually. So why not have that one? So immediate thoughts that someone may have before stealing, right? So that will lead to stealing actually. That may or may not lead to stealing. Some people try to let that go, but some people cannot. They're helpless for whatever the reasons. So abhijja. Vyapada. So translations go like ill will, but I would say in a broader, perspective, that if someone is to destroy the good image of somebody, if someone is to destroy the life of somebody, is that the second bad thought, right? So that is the immediate thought that would come to someone's mind before killing, destroying, destroying someone's life, right? So those are really bad, right? Because these are still at the thought level, so before they become actions, right? So that's why Buddha says, keep your thoughts really good, otherwise you'll be in trouble. So if somebody is to have thoughts of possessing others' stuff, belongings, so badly, we all feel like, oh, what if I have that, that material thing? When we get to know a good person, what if that my people are not like that, Those are kind of natural thoughts. But we're going to let those thoughts, nurture in our mentality. We don't know where we're going to get ended up, That's a problem. So the fool has his or her thinking at this point to let that bad thinking of possessing others, belongings, immaterial things. He or she is actually nurturing such thoughts. So that is the first bad thought someone may have, whereby you understand that he's a fool or she's a fool. And the second one is destroying thoughts of destroying someone, both physically, mentally, emotionally, Sometimes destroying someone, good image is stronger than, that big thing, right? Nowadays, I think social media and internet, you can Somebody can destroy someone's image right away, probably by creating a fake image, by creating something really, really, with misinformation, right? So we have to be very careful, right? So all those things are bad thoughts because they belong to a certain set of destroying others' good image. What about beings who are going to kill other beings? It's really, really bad, right? But usually that execution happens before, actually after thinking to do that, right? That is the second bad thought. So these are the bad thoughts one may have if that person is a fool, right? So what are the bad words then, whereby you understand that this is a fool? Lying. If someone is to lie all the time, right? Right? Can people lie on the on especially like April 1st, like saying that fools, oh, it's a fool's day, right? See, somebody has put it in that good naming, right? Fool's day, Okay, let the fools, open their mouth and then pass all the lies. So lying, and then talking behind the back, right? So we call it pisuna vacha, right? Musapa pisuna vacha. So people who talk behind the back, talk very nicely, in front of you, but then when they disperse, they have some ulterior motives going on. No, nobody never know such motives, but this person is talking behind the back. It's a very bad. Those are very bad words. Like the way that person used to talk behind the back, they are really bad words. Mostly they are, false words, right? False information, right? And then Musa Pisuna Vacha, Parusa Vacha. Parusa Vacha means not even the harsh words, using words to hurt other people. Sometimes they come in a good way, right? Sometimes somebody can, the fools may, if the fool is such a very good smart guy, can use good words to hurt other people. We don't know what happens, but the other party is getting so much hurt. So both good or whatever the words, I would call that, whatever the words that would be used by somebody to hurt other person, either being sarcastic or non-sarcastic or whatever the way, but the words are going to hurt the other person. Sometimes the words that we know from the baggage called swear words, we know that they are really, really bad. But what if that somebody is to use a bunch of words that we never know that he or she carries a bad intention, but at the end what's going to happen is that the party that is directed is getting hurt in some ways, right? So we had to be very careful. This person, which we assume a fool, always uses lies, and then talks behind the back, and then uses words to hurt the other people. And the last one is being an idle chatter. So if there's a person who is always talking, trashy things, not important, meaningful, wasting the precious time, and you can't even get away from this guy because you think that you can't help going away from this conversation, right? At some points, such conversations, but you feel like this is a very meaningless conversation, speech or something. So that person is a fool, right? So if someone speaks bad words like lying, talking words which reflect talking behind the back, and using words to hurt other people, either good or bad, and then using words of an idle chatter, so that is another way of identifying a fool. What about the bad actions then? Bad actions: killing, stealing, and misbehaving in sensual pleasures. Pāṇḍita, adinadana, kāmesumiccāchāra. So those are the first three precepts of the 5 precepts, right? Which you observed even today. Now, it's pretty easy, I guess. Like if we think that this may be kind of a step-by-step understanding of a fool, I think it's pretty easy to understand in a fool. There is no hidden rule actually to wait to understand somebody whether he or she is a fool or not, right? Pretty easy. Like, so if somebody is to speak bad words, think bad thoughts, and executes bad action, then you can understand this person is a fool. Now what happens? Now then, this sutra adds a special thing after this description of the fool. Now what happens? How does the wise, assuming that the wise exist at this point, and then how does the wise understands that this person is really a fool after identifying these three areas? Because the wise can feel, the fool feels pain and grief. And how does the wise understand that further? If a fool is seated in an assembly or along a street or in a square and people there are discussing certain pertinent and relevant matters, then if the fool is one who kills living beings, takes what is not given, misconducts himself or herself in sensual pleasures, speaks falsehood, lies, and indulges in, I don't know, like, this is, the list goes like wine, liquor, and intoxicants. The translator's way of translating, which are the basis of negligence, and you don't have a sound knowledge, understanding what to decide, what to choose at that point, right? That is being so intoxicated, right? He or she thinks these people, now these people, wherever, like, whoever that he understands, sitting on a street or square, they're discussing, right? These people are discussing certain pertinent and relevant matters. These things are found in me. And now he or she gets to know that the other people, bunch of people, they're discussing about a fool, a description about a fool. Now, if the person stays close to them, and then she gets to know, oh, these things actually. So if these things are found in me, and I'm seen engaging in those things, this is the first kind of pain and grief that a fool feels here and now. Now, actually, if the fool is an intelligent person at this point, he or she feels kind of a pain because his whole character is being reflected with their conversation, with the wise people's conversations. So these people who are on a street, square, or wherever the place, they are assumed to be wise, right? That's the first, way of understanding the pain, grief or pain of a fool by the wise person. Again, when a robber culprit is caught, there's a thief, is caught by the government, a fool sees, this talks about kings and how the kings, punish the robbers. A fool sees kings having many kinds of torture inflicted on him, having him flogged with whips, beaten with canes, beaten with clubs, having his hands cut off. So, kingly, royal type of punishment at that time. His feet cut off, his hands and feet cut off, his ears cut off, nose cut off, ear, a bunch of things. And then what happens at the end? Having him thrown to be devoured by dogs, and having him impaled alive on stakes, and having his head cut off with a sword. Then the fool thinks thus, because of such evil actions as those, when a robber culprit is caught, kings have many kinds of tortures. Those things are found in me, and I'm seen engaging in those things. This is the second kind of pain. I guess, now, this is a point where a fool wants to cross over from being a fool into the wise thing, right? Not all the fools want to make this crossover, right? But if the fool thinks that I'm not going to be foolish any longer, so these are the types of pain that person may have at that point. So first thing is that he or she finds other people talking about a character that I can relate myself. That's the first thing. Second thing is that that I see the physical pain that such a person is given according to the judiciary things, in the country, punishment, penal code, and then I should not, stay with these things. So this is the second. But then what happens, like when he sees such pain of a robber or such people, then that person also feels a kind of a pain, right? So this will happen to me probably in few months, because if I'm a foolish person. Because now this foolish person is not just a foolish person at the thinking level, right? At the thought level. Now, as you know, the foolish person, does bad actions, right? He kills and she kills, she steals. Definitely he's one of such a robber, right? At that point. Third, what happens? Again, when a fool is on his chair or on his bed or resting on the ground, then the evil actions that he did in the past, his bodily, verbal, and mental misconduct, cover him, overspread him, and envelop him, just as the shadow of a great mountain peak in the evening covers out, overspreads, and envelopes the earth. So too, when a fool is on his chair or on his bed or resting on the ground, then the evil actions that he did in the past cover him, overspread him, envelop him. And then the fool thinks, I haven't done what is good. I haven't done what is wholesome. I haven't made myself a shelter from anguish. I have done what is evil, done what is cruel. Looks like he is really sad about his past. So this is also a big pain to that person, right? Actually, this can happen like when you have a nice cup of tea in the evening, right? When it is calm and quiet, and you get to think about the past, not the present, right? Because you have a lot to talk about your past, not about the present, right? Present is something to some people that is not really, easily, keep to a certain extent. But past is a big thing, right? And then when that person is to think about the past, what if that person is to think that, the most of the things that he or she did in the past happen to be bad or evil things, right? So it's not a good thing, right? Good feeling, right? So this is the third type of grief and pain this person may have, the fool may have, right? So there are three types of pains or grief that a fool may have. Now you know who is a fool. Now you know what is what happens with a fool in their daily lives, right? And then what happens after the dissolution of the body? This foolish person is going to be reborn in a hell. Does anybody of you know what is hell in Buddhism? Is it purgatory or just kind of a different hell? Some people say like the purgatory is the entrance of the hell. But anyway, Buddha talks about 4 hells. Do you know that? Do you know are they? There are 4 hells in Buddhism, right? What are they actually? Narakaya, Naraka, Tirachana, Peta, Asura. Oh, those are the 4 hells in Buddhism, right? So Naraka has been described with 16 other hells. One set is hot hells. The other 8 hells are cold hells. Extremely hot, extremely cold, actually. Don't know where they exist, I don't know. But in the sutras, they talk about them, right? People have different ideas about it. Some people, they want to locate heavens and hells in the human world. Some people don't want to. But anyway, that's a different thing. But since Buddha saw all these, that's why he talks about all those things. So Naraka is a hell which has 16 another sub-hells. And then Tirachana is the animal kingdom. In Buddhism, animal kingdom is a hell. Not like saying that, not telling that animals are people who are suffering, but saying that we should be empathetic to them. But they kind of like suffering in a sense. And then what about pretas? Who are the pretas? Those who passed away are pretas. Right? There are 4 preta worlds, right? Nijjama Tanhika, Kuppipasa, Pansupisacha, Paradattupajivi. What is Paradattupajivi? Now there is a saying that if somebody passed away and then this person has no good substantial amount of merits, then this person waits in a place called Paradattupajivi, like a transit place. Like when you go to Sri Lanka, you can't take one flight to Sri Lanka directly from here, right? You have to have a transit somewhere in Europe or in the Middle East, right? Or somewhere else, I don't know, in East Asia. But you're not going to stay longer there, right? Probably 5-6 hours or just 2-3 days, just for a hop on and hop off tour, right? Somewhere. It's like a short time in transit called Paradattupajivi. Those people, they expect his or her immediate relatives to give them more merits, and then they can go from that place. Actually, Paradattupajivi. It's like a very short time place. There are 4 preta worlds, and Asura is a certain type of hell, but some people translate Asura to be demons. Actually, they don't know, like demons, and they always have some fights, wars with the deities, gods, heavenly beings in the heavens. So usually the beings in the heavens and the asuras always fight for different reasons, right? Anyway, those are different topics. Now, what I was trying to tell you was that the foolish person is going to be reborn in one of the hells, right? So there is a very detailed description here. I'm not going to talk about the whole description, but I will pinpoint some of the very important things in that description. Now what happens is that now after, give me a second, okay, now king usually commands his forces or whoever the people to punish a certain person who has done some bad action, like a foolish person. He strike him with whatever, okay, it's like this. Sire, here's a robber culprit. Order what punishment you will for him. Okay. Then the king says, go and strike this man in the morning with 100 spears. That's how he orders, right? The foolish person when he's caught. And they struck him in the morning with 100 spears. Then at noon, the king asked, how is that man? Sire, is he still alive? Then the king said, go and strike that man at noon with 100 spears. That's how the kings worked that time. And they struck him at noon with 100 spears. Then in the evening, the king asked, so he is following up this guy, this particular case, right? How is that man? Sire, he is still alive. Then the king said, go and strike that man in the evening with 100 spears. So which is that? And they struck him in the evening with 100 spears. What do you think? Bhikkhus, now Buddha asking, telling this story. What do you think, bhikkhus, monks? Would that man experience pain and grief because of being struck with the 300 spears? And the monks say, the Venerable Sir, that man would experience pain and grief because of being struck with even 1 spear. Now how many? 300 spears were given to him. Let alone 300. Then taking a small stone, so Buddha picked up a small stone, the size of his hand, the blessed one, the Buddha addressed the bhikkhus thus, what do you think, monks? Which is greater, the small stone that I have taken, the size of my hand, or the Himalaya, the king of mountains? So Himalaya is a range of mountains, right? It's like Rockies, right? Rockies have many mountains inside. So Himalaya has no one mountain. So, and then monks say, Venerable Sir, the small stone that the blessed one has taken, the size of his hand, does not count beside Himalaya, the king of mountains. It's not even a fraction. There is no comparison. So, and the Buddha says, so to monks, the pain and grief that the man would experience because of being struck with the 300 spears does not count beside the suffering of hell. It is not even a fraction. There is no comparison. It's gonna be very tough there. Anyway, now what happens is that now the Buddha talks about the hells and how this person experiences, because he killed, he stole, and he misbehaved, he lied, he talked behind the back, and then he used words to hurt other people, he idle chattered, and he had thoughts of killing other people, or destroying other people, he had thoughts of possessing others' things. So all these are actions, thoughts, words of a foolish person. And if the Buddha singled out the robber, right, one of the robbers of this foolish whole thing, the robber is experiencing these excruciating pains this way, this life, and then the hells. Now what happens at the end? The Buddha talks about the animals, actually. That must be very, very interesting, actually. Monks, there are animals that feed on grass. They eat by cropping fresh or dried grass with their teeth. And what animals feed on grass? Horses, cattle, donkeys, goats, deer, and other such animals. A fool who formerly delighted in taste here and did evil action here on the dissolution of the body after death reappears in the company of animals that fed on grass. I mean, don't get mistaken, because Buddha talks about a number of lives, not just one life. In one life, we don't want to actually say this is an animal, then we should not be empathetic to the animal. We should be compassionate. But why someone becomes an animal? So then Buddha talks about that incident using karma, right? Not to hurt that you are an animal, so you should be suffered, but why you became an animal. That's what Buddha trying to explore in here. There are animals that fed on dung. They smell dung from a distance and run to it thinking, we can eat, just as Brahmins run to the smell of sacrifice, thinking, we can eat here. So too these animals that feed on dung, smell dung from a distance. Who are they? Fowls, pigs, dogs, and jackals. Jackals, like a fox, and any other such animals. A fool who formerly delighted in taste here and it did evil actions here on the dissolution of the body after that reappears in the company of animals that feed on dung. There are animals that are born, age, and die in darkness. And what animals are born, age, and die in darkness? Maggots, earthworms, moths, right? I think I pronounced properly, right? Moths, maggots, and earthworms, probably like these very, very tiny creatures you see in some rubbish, right? Trash places. Especially in the summer, right? You get to see such, So this foolish person may be reappeared in them. There are animals that are born, age, and die in water. And what animals are born, age, and die in water? Fish, turtles, and crocodiles, and any other such animals. This happens to the foolish person. There are animals that are born, age, and die in filth. And what animals are born, age, and die in filth? Those animals that are born, age, and die in a rotten fish, or in a rotten corpse, or in a rotten porridge, or in a cesspit, or a sewer. So this might be another place for a foolish person. Now, monks, I could tell you in many ways about the animal kingdom, right? So much so that it is hard to finish describing the suffering in the animal kingdom. Suppose a man, this is a very important passage. A lot of people misinterpret. I'm gonna tell you where things have gone wrong. Suppose a man threw into the sea a yoke with one hole in it. You know what is yoke like? Yoke. These farmers, they use, right? Yeah. And the east wind carried it to the west, and the west wind carried it to the east, right? and the north wind carried it to the south, and the south wind carried it to the north. Suppose there were a blind turtle that came up once at the end of each century. Looks like turtles have longevity, right? They have longevity, I guess. What do you think, bhikkhus, monks? Would that blind turtle put his neck into that yoke with one hole in it? It's like an extremely rare incident going to happen here. He might, Venerable Sir, sometimes or other at the end of a long period. Could stand a chance, but it's very extremely rare. Monks, the blind turtle would sooner put his neck into that yoke with a single hole in it than a fool. Once gone to perdition would take to regain the human state. I say, why is that? Because there is no practicing of the Dhamma there. No practicing of what is righteous. Not doing of what is wholesome. No performance of merit. And what happens in there? Their mutual devouring prevails and the slaughter of the weak. Actually, this happens with the food chain, right? The strong animals, they prey on the weak animals, right? That happens in the animal kingdom. So there is no practice of Dharma. They don't know whether it is good or bad. But if an animal is to be so much domesticated, this could be changed, right? Any animal can be domesticated, but that's not the case. But the majority goes this way, right? Now people, they use this simile to talk about the chances of a human to be reborn as a human. This is wrong. That's wrong. Why? This is for the animals. So animals have a very extremely rare chance of becoming a human. But they may have some chances, right? But because animals are not practicing Dharma, then they have a very limited chance of becoming a human. But a human has better chances. Because, you know why? They can practice Dharma. I'm not talking about a foolish guy being a human but always does all these, executes bad actions, bad thoughts and bad words. That person may have the same chance like an animal, right? Because he's supposed to be reborn with them at some point. But anyway, Buddha says that this is my opinion, that as humans we have a better chance to be reborn, but we should be really empathetic towards animals and all those animals. But if we take a look at our case by case, like in our situation, we should do more good karma, especially the good side of those actions, words and thoughts. So we have a better chance of reborn as a human than animals. Actually, have you ever thought of why you became a human? You must have done a very big kusala karma in the previous life. So don't miss out on this opportunity. This is this is the best life that you got. Even to practice your dharma, meditate, and to become an arahant at some point if you really want that to happen. But other actually types of beings in whatever the places, they have a very lesser chance of understanding these things. Very lesser chance, right? Anyway, now Buddha talked about animals and type of a place where the foolish person may be reborn. And then what happens? Okay, if sometime or other at the end of a long period that fool comes back to the human state, he or she may come back. This is a very long type of time, right? Even the person who threw stones at the Buddha gonna be a Buddha in the future, gonna be a Pacceka Buddha, right? He threw stones. Even the person who, I'm not justifying what they did, but after, because since samsara is such a long thing, they're going to suffer and then they will come out. There is a chance. But simply because there is a chance of coming back, that doesn't mean that people can do bad things. That is not what we're going to talk about, right? It's a karma, right? Anyway. And then what happens? Now, this person may come back as a human into a low family that he is reborn as being India, right? Into a family of outcasts or hunters or bamboo workers or cartwrights, scavengers, like this talks about the Buddha's Indian time, right? And he's ugly, unsightly, misshapen, sickly, blind, triple-banded, lame, paralyzed. He gets no food, drinks, clothes, vehicles, garlands, scents, and unguents, bed, lodging, light. She misconducts himself in body, speech. Again, back to the same thing he or she did in many, many lives before, right? This doesn't mean that every blind person, every crippled person has done bad things. That is not our perception. But Buddha talks about certain type of people who may become so in this context. Because otherwise, if you're going to use this strategy towards the people we're living with, they're going to be a big problem. You're going to make a karmic violation with them, right? It's a very unpleasant situation. But Buddha talks about a foolish person, right? And then Buddha talks about the wise person. Now, who is a wise person? That's the opposite of the foolish person. What's the opposite of the foolish person? If somebody is to does good actions, talks good words, and thinks good thoughts, she is a wise person. Do we want to be a wise person? Are we wise people? Not all the time. But we are trying. That's a good thing, right? Now, those three things that we talked about, like, that there is a wise person who is on the street, who is on a square, he or she understands, hears that bunch of people out there talking about a good person. Here, there is a person who does not kill, does not steal, does not misbehave. Now she thinks, oh, I'm one of them. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for that person. And then also, there's one person, this wise person also sees that a robber culprit is taken by the police, and then excruciating pains that person experiences. So this person, wise person, thinks, I haven't done such things, so I'm not up for such things, so I'm happy because of that. We have the same happiness at that point, right? If somebody does such bad actions, so that's not me, so I'm pretty different, right? There's a kind of a pleasure because I'm good. Oh, we are good. The third thing is that in the evening, if you are taking a cup of tea or a coffee, having a quiet, calm time, you get to think about the past. Oh, I did a lot of good karma. I was helping the temple, like in your case, like associating monks about, this good karma, learning a lot. That I was not just a listener of the Dhamma. I was also a practitioner of the Dhamma, not just a listener. Now, there are people who don't listen, but there are a bunch of people who listen a lot, but no practitioner perspective, right? And there is one stanza in Pali, Dhammapada. It says that, like the spoon that you use to stir kind of a dish, right? The spoon doesn't never gets that taste of the dish, right? Spoon never gets that taste, but it's always with the curry or whatever the thing that you make when you cook, right? So such persons would be like that. There will be always a spoon. They never know what's the taste of the dish. Don't be a spoon. Be the taste. So that's why Buddha says, don't just be a listener. What we want to do is that we want to be practitioners as far as possible, right? Anyway, so there are three types of pleasures that a wise person enjoys, and then this person is up for heavens. There are 6 heavens in Buddhism, right? What are they? I think I told you last time too, right? Chatum Maharajika, Yama, Tautisa, Travatinsa means Tautisa, Tusita, Nimmana Rati, Parinimita Vasudha, 6 heavens. So this wise person is up for that. And I want to touch one more thing, and then we're going to actually wrap up this Dhamma talk. At the end of this sutra, when the Buddha was talking about the good person, wise person, and Buddha, now in the previous discussion about the fool, that Buddha was trying to compare the pain that the fool experiences in this life with that stone of handful, and then with the Himalaya mountains, right? Now Buddha uses another simile to talk about the wise person's happiness compared to the heaven. Have you heard about the universal concept of universal monarch in Buddhism? Okay, now Buddha has a different view about the continents of the universe. Actually, we call Chakavala. Chakavala means I would say galaxies, but I don't know why. Is that the proper way of saying that? We call Chakavala. Chakavala. There are many Chakavalas there. Chakavala is a galaxy, right? I would say it's a galaxy. So many galaxies. Usually what we know in that cosmologic interpretation of the Buddha is that Buddha says there are 4 continents in the universe. Aparagoya, okay, Pubba Videha, Aparagoyana, Uttarakuru, and Jambudipa. So these are the 4 continents that Buddha talks about in his sutras. And Jambudipa is mostly the human world. That is not just India, actually. It's not just India. So right now actually, the place called Jambudipa, there is a galaxy, and Buddha actually assumes this is the human world, and down there are the hells. In the middle of this whole scenario is a mountain called Sumeru. That's the medium point in this 4 continents. Above Jambudipa, there are above the Sumeru mountain. This mountain, according to Buddha, this mountain never shows. It's down in the ocean. Don't know where is that. Looks like in the middle of the 4 continents somewhere, and it's right down in the ocean. And then all the other heavens and material Brahma worlds, they are above the Sumeru mountain. This is not Everest. This is not Himalaya. It's like such a very big mountain, range of mountains. Okay, so now what happens is that universal monarch is a king of the continents, not just a king of a country. This is a concept in Buddhism. When somebody, now, do all of you know Katina? Katina, right? Yeah. The monks observe rainy retreat, and after that what happens? The devotees who sponsor the Katina, they offer a Katina robe, but monks make it a Katina. And one of the benefits of offering a Katina is said to have been kind of becoming a universal monarch. Universal monarch is one of the best secular type of enjoyments a layperson can enjoy. That's why when the Prince Siddhartha was born, the King Suddhodana, the father of Prince Siddhartha, commanded all those Brahmins to come over to his house, and then ask them, please tell me the foreseeable future of this my son. And then some said this greatest being would be a universal monarch, so he or she can control the whole continents. But we don't see that in reality in the present world. If not, he would become a Buddha. There's only one Brahmin, Kondanya. He precisely said this would become the Buddha. He wouldn't enjoy this universal monarch. So this person would become, the wise person would become a universal monarch. He or she has the possibility. But the thing is, the Buddha says, now the universal monarch has so many benefits. He has so many comforts in this explanation. He gets elephants, royal elephant. He gets royal horse. These are not just a normal elephant. With this elephant, universal monarch can travel from one continent to the other continent, something like that. So, and Buddha uses universal monarch to talk about the happiness the wise person will get. How does he say is that then taking a small stone the size of his hand, the blessed one addressed the bhikkhus thus: what do you think, bhikkhus, which is the greater, this small stone that I have taken, the size of my hand, or Himalaya? And we talked about that in the previous example. So too bhikkhus, monks, the pleasure and joy that a wheel-turning monarch, this universal monarch, would experience because of possessing the 7 treasures. There are 7 treasures, actually. Royal elephant, royal horse, like that. And the 4 kinds of success. The 4 kinds of success are: the universal monarch gets a very handsome body, a very beautiful body that has no blemishes, and she gets a longevity. She is permanently healthy, and then she gets so popular among the others, right? Those are the 4 kinds of successes. Does not count beside the happiness of heaven. So heaven is much more than that, much more than becoming a universal monarch. It is not even a fraction. There is no comparison. Anyway, now this sutra actually deals with the understanding of basic characteristics, signs, and attributes of a fool and a wise person. So you all can understand at this point who is a fool, who is a wise person, and what will happen to a fool in this life and after she dies. And then also what happens to a wise person in this life and what will happen to that person after the death. So this is what Buddha deals with in this sutra called Bālapaṇḍita. So now if you have any questions, so please ask your questions.
You mentioned about the animal.
Yeah.
But you never said anything about birds. You were talking about sheep, cows, dogs and all that. What about birds?
I think we kind of like...
Buddha did not say anything about the birds?
No. Oh, Buddha said that he doesn't want to detail all the other animals.
Oh, okay.
He only touched few animals.
Oh, I see.
Few very, apparent animals, actually.
Yeah, because
Animals are...
Yeah.
It's a different subject, right? Yeah.
Even birds are animals, but they are also...
Yeah. But they may. But
And
in this...
when you talk about the heavens, you said there are so many heavens.
6 heavens.
6 heavens. Are they also in different categories? Some have better heavens?
Yes. The list, now, the increasing number of list has better benefits. Like Chatu Maharajika, the second heaven called Yama has better enjoyments than the first one.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So Paranimita Vasavati is the highest
So
highest type of.
What is the best heaven?
You wanna go there?
You know what it is?
Paranimita Vasavati. I think I have seen some commentaries. They say one day of Paranimita Vasavati heaven is 800 years of the human world. Actually, such a very big number of time. See, I mean, we should be shame enough. I mean, to look at our years, how long we're gonna stay in this world. But the problem is that will expire. That's the problem.
Yeah.
This will expire. Then you are not happy about it. Then you don't know where you would be heading out after that, right? So that's a problem.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah, please.
One is, so we can be fools or wise people, right? We have
Choice.
both in us.
We have the choices. We can make our own choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other one is, somewhere we say, the Buddhism dictates that think of the present moment. So if we, now here when you look at the good and bad, you think of the past also to realize, I mean, what bad did we do and what good did we do,
Yeah.
right? So how do you
combine that thing?
Yeah.
Actually, those are two things. Now, we always need to be in the present moment, but that doesn't guarantee we will never go back to the past, because past is a good place to make ourselves happy. If you are really doing good thing, this will be a not good thing for a bad person, right? Bad person always feels remorseful about the past.
Yeah.
But this, okay, I mean, everybody thinks about the past, but everybody is supposed to be in the present moment. But that's a natural instinct, intrinsic thing that we may go to the past, because I think we may go back to the past, and it's a good thing in a way, not that we need to always go to the past, because we naturally go back to the past. Now, for example, like, think about your lives here in Canada. What about the achievements you had? So whenever you think about achievements, you made this big move, and you had kids, you're done with all these things. So how happy are you, right? That's a different type of looking at of the past. But Buddha says, don't dwell in the past. That's the point. You can go to the past, learn the lesson from the past, where you screwed up, where you blundered, but don't dwell in the past. That's the point. But the people, majority of the people, they go to the past, they dwell in the past. Okay, see, I did that so bad of me, yeah? Now there is nothing I can do to that, right? They're going to dwell in that. But the bad person, now this is a normal, natural thing when you made a cup of tea in the evening, right? Nobody's there, and then you just look outside of your window, and then even though you look outside a window, but the subjective thinking always carries you to the past. See, how did I see this backyard in some 10 years back, something like that. And also the good person has also the same thing. That's why Buddha said in Dhammapada we find, don't execute any actions or thoughts, words that would make you tearful at the end. Why someone becomes tearful? By looking at what they did. Now how do we define guilty feelings of anybody, remorse? Now this applies to even an animal, right? If a dog messes up the house or place, and when the house owner came in, and the house owner gets to see that, the dog feels like bit different, because he knows that he did this bad thing. So kind of looking, so it's, sometimes we need the remorse to make ourselves better, and to take us out of that bad mentality that we did bad things in the past. But don't dwell in that thinking. And also, what about the future? Yes, we need to plan ahead. Why not? Simply because we plan ahead, that doesn't mean we're going to dwell in the future, because future has not yet come. What about 4 months of time from now? Next year, you have a plan to travel in Asia or whatever. You're planning, but you don't dream about it, right? When you sleep time, right? Like a non-intentional, intentional kind of dreaming. It has not yet come, but you have a good plan, but you don't dwell in that. When you are up for that moment, you're going to enjoy that moment, but you should have a certain type of planning. That doesn't mean that you are losing your mindfulness. That's the point. Mindfulness means you try to stay at the present moment with awareness. That awareness can take you to the past for the good things. Don't dwell in there. Learn, see, come back fast as soon as you can, and see the future, plan it ahead, but don't dwell in there. It hasn't yet come, but you better plan it and stay in the moment. So that's what we should think about, the meditation perspective and this perspective about a fool and a wise person.
So fools can become wise people too, right?
Yes, they can become right away by wise people. Because if they know these things, they always have opportunities, chances to become good people, right? The wise people can also become fools at some point. Why not? The other way around. Right? Because all depend on these bad actions, good actions, bad words, good words, and bad thoughts, good thoughts.
So very practical area, right?
It's a practical definition, right? Everybody can. Now you think about the people that you are surrounded by. What they do, how they think, what is their mental, what is their perspective. If you feel that their perspective is, is actually under review with this thing, you got to think about it, right?
We can analyze ourselves, right?
Yeah, first start from yourself, right? Don't try to analyze somebody else. Okay. Okay, so let's share all the good karmas with the deities, heavenly beings, and the departures. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Ittavata ca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang. Sabbe deva anumodantu sambasang patti siddhya. Ittavata ca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang. Sabbe bhuta anumodantu sambasang patti siddhya. Ittavata ca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang. Sabbe satta anumodantu sambasang patti siddhya. Akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga mahittika. Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu loka sasanang. Akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga. Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanang. Akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga mahittika. Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu mang paranti. So let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating in all these ways help all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana as well. Give a sadhu, and I'm going to bless all of you with a couple more stanzas. Abhivadana silissa niccang vaddha pachayino. Chattaro dhamma vaddhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang. Ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha. Ato nibbana sampatti iminati sabinchatu.